Howdy everyone, I am Katie Pace, the Hardin County Extension Agent for Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service. We have another video for our Careers in Agriculture interviews, and today I have with me Jeremy Hughes. He is County Executive Director for the USDA in both Hardin County, Liberty, and Chambers. So good morning, Mr. Hughes, and why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got involved in agriculture?
Good morning. Thank you for having me this morning. So my background is I actually have been involved in agriculture of some form or fashion pretty much my whole life. When I was growing up, my uncle owned a dairy, and my dad and his two brothers, all of our property kind of adjoined. So my uncle owned a dairy, so we worked on the dairy as kids growing up, and then me and my dad and my older brother always had a handful of beef cows when we were coming up. And then whenever I moved away from home and went to college, I decided to go to Tarleton State in Stephenville, which is pretty renowned for their agricultural classes. I was able to go to school there and got a master's in ag education, and kind of thought that the education route was the right thing for me. And whenever I was finishing up my graduate school, things kind of happen and life happens and things changes, and I actually ended up getting a job in pharmaceutical sales for animal health and dairy sanitation products. So I did that for probably 7 or 8 years, I guess, and then got the opportunity to interview for the current position that I have now, and it just kind of all worked out and came together. So I've been with the Farm Service Agency now going on probably about 11 years now.
That is a really long time. And it's funny how we plan things and life has better plans for us sometimes.
Yeah, life happens, that's for sure.
So, what exactly do you do now?
So what we do in our agency, we are the Farm Service Agency, which is a branch of the United States Department of Agriculture. So every 4 to 5 years, Congress gets together and they put out their what's called the Farm Bill. That's kind of the what everybody knows it as. It has an actual different name every time they pass it, but the Farm Bill is what it's generally referred to. And there's a certain portion within the Farm Bill that Congress allocates a specific amount of money for farmers, ranchers, row crop production, specialty crops, fruit and vegetable farmers. There's a certain amount of money allocated to programs for the farmers and ranchers, and sometimes in the form of disaster programs. For example, we've had pretty significant our part of the state 2 out of the last 3 years with Hurricane Harvey and Tropical Storm Imelda. So we've been involved with cattle loss programs, hay and grain loss programs, whether it be feed that you would have stored in your barn to feed your horses or your cattle, or maybe it was a commodity such as your rice that you had cut and stored in your own grain facility on your farm, and it was lost due to the flood. So that's our main focus on our side. And also, if you move further out west and towards the Panhandle area, conservation programs kind of take over because of the erodibility of the soil and the specific soil indexes and the forage types out there. So there's multiple programs that our agency administers. Just kind of depends on your geographic location within the state, and then of course it varies, as you move out throughout the country.
That is super similar to AgriLife. We're definitely not the same here in East Texas as they are in the Panhandle.
Yeah,
So
that's
it depends on where you're at, on what you're going to do that day, I guess is the best way to say it. So if you have any advice for kids who want to stay in agriculture or have been involved in 4-H or FFA, what would it be?
probably the first thing that I would tell anybody that, and even younger kids that may not have an agricultural background that are just considering options, is don't put agriculture in a box. Because whenever you first think of agriculture, most people think of, the tractors, or the people planting the crops, or the guy that's raising the beef cow, or the guy that's raising the dairy cow. But you can literally have zero experience in ag, or have zero ag background, and enjoy a very good career in agriculture, because it's so vast and so broad, from from financing to marketing to sales to management to the actual production to the harvesting. It's so wide, and it encompasses so many things, that my advice would be, don't put agriculture in a box. And just because you hear the word agriculture, say, well, I don't know anything about cows, so I'm not going to be very good at ag. You can have a finance degree, an ag finance degree, and you could trade stocks every single day that the market is open and never lay a hand on a cow. It's just that vast and that broad. So that would be my advice, is to keep an open mind and don't put ag in a box.
That is some really good advice. I love that. And I try and preach that all the time to the kids, that you don't have to be a farmer and you don't have to be a rancher. There are tons of other things that you can do in agriculture. That is about all the time we have. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to do this. From myself, Hardin County, and Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service.